Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. This is Teresa Thomas, and I'm here to introduce you to Amarpal Nanda, who will talk about why data management automation holds the key to business operations and growth. Amar is a profit-driven leader with 15 plus years of experience in driving business results using data and cutting-edge technologies. He is recognized for consistently driving strategic initiatives and digital transformation efforts to cut costs, streamline operations, and increase productivity, enabling top and bottom line gains. He is also recognized for his advanced leadership skills with the ability to build, develop, and manage diverse on site and offshore workforces to meet operational objectives. Just before I hand over the session to Amar, just wanted to let you know that we have a Q&A towards the end of the session. Please feel free to send in your questions in the chat box. Let's all welcome Amar.
Thank you, Teresa. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I know there will be people coming from different countries, different continents. So thanks for joining and taking our time to attend this session. The topic for today is data management automation and how that impacts the business operations and growth. I would move on to the next slide. This is a quick agenda before I get into the impact of data automation or data management automation, their impact. I would like to start with what is data management automation. So I won't be going through each one of this. I will move on to the next slide. So data management automation, right? Before even I talk about automation, let's think through what is data management. Because there are so many personas, let it be data engineers, data miners, data analysts, business analysts, they are acting or they are performing their jobs in subsections of data management. But when you see totality of data management, it's a very broad topic. And this image or this visualization is still very high level. It doesn't break down to multiple layers down, shows you the end-to-end data management, right? It starts from identifying the data sources. And we all know, knowing the decentralization, knowing how fragmented world it is, there could be multiple data sources. There could be not only the data sources, there could be very different types of data. Today, in today's world, we have images, we have videos, we have Excel sheets, PDFs. So that's where the intensity and I will say the depth of data sources comes in play. So and knowing what the sources are and knowing what the data types are, that's the first step when it comes to data management. And let's start to look at data assessment and ingestion, right? That's where most of the time consuming happens, because first you need to know all the sources, you need to know all the data types, you need to know data owners, and then you need to know the relevance of the data. Once you understand what it is and what you want to bring in to store for the leverage purposes, that's why it moves to storage. On top of it, once it moves to storage, now the big topic is data privacy and how to make the sensitive data private and who to have authority to control it. That's also one of the subsections of data management. Further, it moves on to data cataloging. Data cataloging is, in a very simple definition, it's a landscape of your storage. It could be, the storage could be consisting of 5 databases. The storage could be consisting of multiple lakes. We don't know, right? The storage is storage. It's a very broad landscape that tells you what data is it and how are they connected to each other. Moving on from data, once you know your landscape, that's the only time you can think about, okay, how to visualize the data, how to analyze it. That's not the only way businesses adopt the data. There are a lot of time people use that data to exchange the data with their partners, to exchange the data with their customers. You have seen a lot of people use the data for their streaming purposes, for their marketing purposes. So there are multiple leveraging of the data. And the only way we can leverage and know what to leverage is through data cataloging. So going back, this is data management. This broadness, the 6 verticals you can see here, it covers the breadth of the data management. There's a lot of depth. There's a lot of thousands of steps goes underneath each vertical. And that's where, in today's world, people have started adopting automation tools. Because in the past, there was hours and hours manual efforts were consumed by engineers, data analysts. It was a lot of stewardness. There was so much manual workflows, emails around that it was never ever possible to scale up the business. People, a lot of time when the businesses wants to acquire or wants to get merged, their biggest thought process was, okay, how to integrate systems, how to manage the data, how to get this together, right? That is why the automation tools that came today, they are smart, and they came to integrate this, automate this with a very minimum manual intervention. Moving on to the next slide. Now, to run the automation, you need a machine, you need infrastructure, you need the foundation, you need the backbone, right? The automation cannot just run by tools, right? You need to know, okay, what resources, the tools needed to run the automation. And that's where the modern data stack came in play, right? Modern data stack came in play to connect the decentralization. Decentralization is very powerful because it empowers individuals, it empowers individual departments, domains, right? But a lot of companies tried in the past to centralize it. Centralizing is not the solution. Connecting decentralization is a solution, and that is usually gets enabled by modern data stack. That's why people with ingestion capabilities, the tools with ingestion capabilities, the storage systems, the warehousing systems, where you have tons and tons of memory to compute it, right? The AI ML, when we talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning, they're very loosely used nowadays. But why do we even need AI ML, right? And if we need AI ML, that means we need a good data for that, right? And I will add more to it, but the modern data stack, when you see this visualization here, is a very core when it comes to automating the data. We need modern data stack to run the automation and to run in a way that the data is of high quality and it is being leveraged in the right way when it comes to consumption. Moving on to the next slide, very important topic, okay? One of the biggest crucial factor to data automation is data fabric. How would you handle data fabric? The architecture behind data fabric and the tools that are needed to handle data fabric holds a very key when it comes to automating the data and to run the data throughout the organization. We all know there are several departments, several domains when it comes to running the business. The domains keeps on increasing right now. But before there was only one purchasing, now there's indirect purchasing, strategic purchasing, tactical purchasing. So you would see the amount of domains that are increasing by the businesses, amount of data that is being getting produced, captured is increasing because there's more adoption of digital tools. There's more adoption of sensors. There's more adoption of robots. And since we are adopting so much digital, the data is getting more and more captured. That's exactly where the data fabric comes in play, because data fabric is an architecture that enables you to connect various departments, get the data from the various departments, classify them, and also not only classify, but making sure the data is well understood. That's where the data fabric comes in play. Data fabric is also a very key element when it comes to consumption, because when you're consuming the data, let it be for decision making, let it be for exchanging, you have to know what it is, who owns it, what type of data it is. Is it very sensitive? And if it is, are we complying to different regulations? And that's where the data fabric, a visual layer, has to be produced while you are running the data, while you're automating the data, while you're streaming the data. So on the top, if you see, I mentioned few terminologies, and for some people, they might know this, for some people, they might not, right? The first one, when it comes to connected active metadata management, what is metadata, right? Metadata is, as I said before, it just gives you a quick visualization or visualization for different schemas acting in the storage. Now, what does it mean connected, and what does it mean active? Now, when you're bringing the data from different systems, it is disconnected. When you bring it together in a storage, in a cloud, you want to connect it for totality, for decision making. That's where the word connected came. Why active? Because you want metadata to give you information. You want metadata to give you recommendation as a human, right? You want metadata to be resourceful to you. So making it active, and the active, making metadata active comes from AI/ML. There are a lot of machine learning algorithms that has been produced, right? That helps the metadata to suggest you or to guide you towards analytics, to guide you towards absorption, to guide you towards exchanges. Moving on to the second box, which is intelligence graph. This is very important. When you say intelligence graph, is where it's very much relevant to how you connect different databases, because that's where you have to know what the graph looks like, how they are different connected, and if they are connected, why they are connected, and what is the outcome of this connection can bring results to the business. So a lot of companies, a lot of technologies have started adopting intelligence graph for their semantic technologies, for their predictions, for their diagnostics, for their prescriptions. That's where the intelligence graphs comes in play, or the technology supporting intelligence graphs comes in play. We talked about metadata. We taught prep and delivery is also one of the biggest factor, because knowing what technologies to use, knowing what tools to use, but you have to deploy that in your environment. That's one of the time-consuming factor too. A lot of companies even today use manual deployment. A lot of companies have moved towards automated deployment, and there's a lot of time savings. Again, prep and delivery, where to deploy, or to deploy, for what department to deploy, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of planning, and that is why it is very important for us to understand, okay, do we need to automate? If yes, what to automate? And that contributes directly to data fabric, that directly contributes to the business growth, that directly contributes to the sustainability of the business. Moving on to the next slide. These are the quick, I would say, the outcomes, or I would say the impact when it comes to data management. The key word is scalability and depth, right? Because what business wants depth, business wants to scale up, right? And the reason, and the data plays a very big role when it comes to scalability. I don't know whether companies understand. The companies have started understanding, and this becoming more and more mature. Data is the backbone for the companies. Data has to be preserved. Data has to be leveraged. Data cannot be loosely kept, right? And that's why, as I said, right, automation comes in play, because when it comes to large volume, you need automation, right? Because if you start doing large volume data with manual intervention, let's say we are writing scripts, we're writing codes, it will be hundreds of hours, thousands of hours to run that data. And by the time the results are produced, it might be too late. So that's where the active decision-making, on-time decision-making, sensitive decision-making relies heavily on data management automation. Moving on to the second box, data quality. I know people say my data is very high quality. I know some companies doesn't pay much attention to the quality of data, but it's very, very important. If you see, when we are moving to the digital world, where we are moving to the robotic world, where we are moving to the machine learning or machine decision-making world, if the data is not of high quality, you cannot use to train machines. You cannot use it to train robots. So that's where quality of data, maintaining it. So there's two big words here: getting the clean data and keeping it clean. Get clean and stay clean is very important here, right? And data management automation plays a very key role in maintaining it. That's why the tools are meant there. The platforms are there, which helps you to write your business rules, which helps you to remove erroneous data, duplicate data, incomplete data. And that's why the tools existing in the market are so strong. You cannot move to the AI/ML world, or you cannot move to the intelligence world if your data is not clean and it's not a high quality. Going to the cloud first technology. Now, cloud is a very big word nowadays. Why cloud, right? In cloud started to support the startups. Where the cloud was a big trend when it comes to growing the businesses, because it's easy to use, easy to scale up, easy to downgrade. And if you see, a lot of companies are moving onto the cloud. At the same time, there's a caution there, right? Do you want to move everything to cloud, or do you want to keep some to on-prem, or you want to have a hybrid technology? Because moving to cloud, we need to also understand which is high volume data. Good. Are you going to use all the high volume data to make decisions? And that's where the clear segregation comes in play. Do you want to go for the low cost storage? Do you want to go for the high cost storage? But all the decision making of what relevant data is and what not goes back to automation, because the business rules, the smart rules will identify whether you need that data. And if you don't, that helps you to cost save and move that into a low storage. Going to the security factor, so in the past, manually pseudonymizing or masking the data, that's good, right? People used to do it. But now, think about so much large volume. Think about so many various master data. Think about so many different data sources. There are very high chances you will miss out some sensitive data. That's where the tools, the automation tools, the powered by machine learning and AI, artificial intelligence, is important now, because they help the user, they help the technology leaders to ensure the data that has to be sensitive, that has to be controlled, would be controlled, because it is system driven. And it is very important for us to use these tools, because for the auditing purposes, instead of manually recovering all the auditing reports, the system can generate audit reports in seconds. Ease of access. This is a one big box that I'm very big fan of, right? The tools that today they say is when we use self-service tools, when we use, let's say, a integration ETL tool, right? It brings such a easiness when it comes to getting pipeline creation, moving the data from systems to different clouds, right? In the past, again, writing codes, and not only writing codes, but maintaining codes, and then going back to the codes if you missed some data. It's very time consuming, also very expensive. Think about, you have captured 99 data elements and you missed one when you did the first rollout. You have to go back and change that code. You have to go back and edit the code and add the 100th element, and it opens up vulnerability to an error. It opens up vulnerability to a shutdown. It can shut down the pipeline. We don't know, because it involves human intervention, and that opens up possibility of error. So ease of use and control is a very big thing when it comes to data management automation. Moving on to the next slide. The impact, right? I will not go in detail and read through what it is, but very important. And I kept on talking about the data management automation using tools. It saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of workforce and resources. You can hire the right workforce and put them in the right place. You can the workforce can be more used to help the business in the right decision making, producing the right reports, but classifying the right data, then manually handling data and mining the data. So saving time and optimizing the workforce is a very big outcome when it comes to data management automation. Cost, of course, when you're reducing the workforce or when you're optimizing the workforce, you're saving the time, cost will be reduced. But the biggest factor here is not only the cost, right? The sustainability. You will see, right, when there's a human factor there, human can stay in the company for 5 years. A resource can be here for 10 years. What if a resource leaves? And if it leaves, then there's a gap. You have to fill that gap for somebody to manage that data. But when a system is there and system is managing it, a human factor moving out in doesn't control how you manage your data. So sustainability is a very important when it comes to data management automation. One of the other big factors is a single source of truth on the right? I don't know whether people understand the importance of single source of truth, right? Because the same data, when it's coming from one angle, could be different, or coming from one source could be different, coming from other source could be different. How we need to know that which data is the truth. And that's where this automation game or automation platform plays a big role. It's making sure that the rules are in place. The smart rules are in place to maintain the single source of truth. Because if we want to use it in the future, we can. And that's why the single source of truth and immutability of the single source of truth is very important, because while you're making decisions, you make for wrong decisions. And while you make wrong decision, you want to know what went wrong. And that's where the single source of truth plays a big role. Moving on to the next slide. These are the 6 steps. This is just me putting this together in a very simple way, how to begin with automation, right? I've seen the step 1, people say identify the problems, but in my world, I say identify the opportunities. There could not be a problems in the business, but there's always an opportunity to improve. That's where the step 1 comes in. Okay, identify where's the manual work, where's the large volume of data, where you're struggling to classify the data, right? And once you identify, okay, this is where the opportunity is, then you start classifying. Why classification is needed? Because if you don't classify before you start going into the next cycle, going back and classifying is always time consuming. It takes and not only time consuming, it takes a lot of efforts, lot of traceability to move back and classify data. Also, if you classify data as a step 2, it helps you to absorb the data when it comes to a smart decision making. So step 2 is classifying the data. Then now it's prioritizing, right? Now you have opportunities, you have classified data. You want to understand, okay, how do I prioritize it? Do I have to automate everything at the same time? Do I have to take stepwise approach or a phase approach? That's the step 3. Then we have to clearly outline if we need to transform this data. Do I need to mask? Do I need to pseudonymize? Do I need to remove the first 4 characters? Do I need to remove the last 4 words? That has to be done before we execute. Because doing execution without transforming, if there's a transformation, will give you a bad result. And the 5th one is execute operations. Once you execute and you're getting the right results, let it be through analytics, data exchange, smart predictions, the application of deep learning. I can so whatever, because there's so many layers after data management people are adopting, would be useless if the data is not right. And then once you know your operations and data is right, then you schedule, you make it repeatable, you make it robotic. That's a very big key. Moving on to the next slide, the future, where I see the future of data I would say data automation. The first one is AI ML adoption. And now I will stick to the first box. AI-driven technology, right? We all know machine learning is a subtopic of AI. Under machine learning, there's a supervised learning, there's unsupervised learning. And even under machine learning, deep learning is a subset of machine learning, right? So adoption of AI ML, and when I say AI ML, why I'm saying in terms of data, because data is not restricted to only machines. Data could be involved in neural network. Data could be also used to trigger alarms. So it could be anything, right? So the adoption of technologies will be kept on increasing, will get maturity. As you see, the self-service car, right, is getting mature. It's still not perfect, but it's still getting matured, right? It will keep on improving, evolving. And there will be a time when we say, okay, we feel comfortable adopting self-service car. Similarly, we will be talking about self-service data management. So, they will be talking about self-service decision-making. So adoption of these AI ML technologies, semantic technologies will help us to run the business in a sustainable mode and in a automated mode. Moving on, the future of data automation, decentralized systems. I feel we should not be centralizing. I strongly feel we should be empowering decentralization, because the source, where the source of data is, the empowerment should go there. There should be a separate infrastructure. There should be a dedicated team there, and so that the data is well managed and well occupied and well distributed. So instead of centralizing the decentralized systems, it's better we connect the decentralized systems. And that's where this integration efforts, smart integration, right? The ETL integration tools came in play. and they will keep on getting matured, because now it's not only integrating the systems, it's integrating the clouds. There are companies who are using multi-cloud. So how would you connect all the clouds? There will be a time when they will say, okay, I want to have a very broad view of all the cloud data and the metadata. So how would you do that? The visual layer there, right? That's where the connecting decentralized systems comes in play. The third one is data fabric. I touched on data fabric in my previous slide, but I want to touch base again there. Data fabric is a very important architecture concept to enable while you're running your data and you're producing results. You have to make sure you are considering all the fragmented parties. You have to make sure you're bringing them onto one environment by integrating. You're making sure it's not only the systems, it is not only the domains, it could be sensors, it could be robots, it could be XYZ. Connecting all the data, bring on them on one environment, and then looking at the totality. And also not only a totality, but totality by classification is data fabric, right? So I think tech architecture, enabling data fabric is the key success to successful data automation. The future of data automation, another thing is data protection. As I said, right, there are times a human knows what is sensitive. There are times when we miss sensitivity. So applying the standard regulations, compliance rules, building that rules in the system and let the system manage the sensitivity and protection will be the future. Zero human intervention and translating the regulation compliance rules into the systems and letting the systems control it will be the future. Improved insights. Again, improved insights will only come when your data is clean, when its data is not touched by human, because when a human touches, there's always a possibility of error, and the integrity of data can be questioned. So that's where the improved insights can come in play, because when you do AI/ML technologies, you do assumptions. You do assumptions based on historical. You make assumptions based on the human expertise, right? But you also make assumptions based on the data. So the AI/ML will need that parameters to make the right decisions. So improving insights will be the future. How would the tools, different platform tools, automation tools would be used to improve the insights for the business? The final is robotic process automation. This is a very big term. I would say people have started using it. They are using it for very trivial processes, but I think we should start adopting robotic process automation for the complex processes also. We do understand neural network, we do understand deep learning. Why not to apply robotic process and see how the decision making happens through the process automation? So this also again goes back to future tools, it goes back to future platforms, future technologies. I personally see this will keep on evolving, revolving, and would be the trend for next at least 10 to 20 years. Moving on to the next slide. This is a very important slide. I thought to brought here. It's a visual layer where it talks about data management platform and enabling data fabric. On the top, we mentioned about different components of data management, analytics, data governance, very big topic, and master data management, modernization, lakehouse storage. This landscape, right? It's a very important piece to understand. We need all of this to enable data fabric. If you remember, when I started my first slide, I said 6 verticals, but the depth is humongous. This shows you how many different components and different factors comes in play when it comes to enterprise data management and automation. This all has to be automated for us to say, oh, wow, we are streamlined, low cost. We are very, very confident on data, and we are very confident on our decision making. So automation has to not only touch analytics, automation doesn't need to touch data governance. It has to touch all the 8 points or 8 functions that is mentioned on the top. We are trying to show you different use cases that will be applied using or by applying automation on their functions. So having a gateway, and that's where Chainsys comes in play, right? Chainsys has a gateway, or we are evolving and revolving a gateway where you, as a user or as engineers, any buyer personas, right? Let it be engineers, miners, data scientists, let it be data stewards, business analysts can go through and make sure their specific responsibilities can be taken care by the tool. And this is where the entry point would be a tool front facing that go here, like a model Zen, which is AIML. Data scientists can go there, look at the different algorithms there. Let it be regression, classification. If they want to do binary classification, multi-classification, they can go there and see, okay, I want to try to apply this model on this set of data. You can, by using the same gateway, you can go to the data and apply that model there and see what are the outcomes, and see what kind of anomalies you got. Do you have to retrain it? The same way, the data governance leader could go to the data governance gateway from here and understand what kind of data they have to govern. Because when it comes to data governance, you're not only governing the data, you're also governing the people. So the same access can go to knowing what users have the accesses. So this gateway, this one view, yes, it's been shown as a visual right now, but think about having this view on a tool, and you have just easy access to individual functions that you are entitled to perform in a company. So this is where changes play a big role. We have it. We are happy to show. Please contact us, and then we can go through the visualization and the navigation of this gateway. This looks like to be my final slide. I will just spend 2 minutes here. We all know, or I would love to tell you that Changes is one platform solution, right? It has catalog of solutions. We don't have to have multiple handshakes. One platform handles end-to-end data management, and let it be any sub-function, let it be any one problem inside data management, the same platform solves it. So why one platform? Because it ensures the integrity of data, it ensures the ease of use, it ensures the low cost, and also it ensures how to segregate the data and where to keep the data. So there's so many factors, so many pros that goes into one system, one platform, and that's what Changes platform provides. Moving on to the next one. This is a quick case study. I just put this together that I had an experience with. There was a healthcare company where that point of time, they used to manually match their workers with their assignments. And it used to be so many hours spent doing it, so many errors, so many back and forth, so many people on the floor, so many people on the computers, late hours doing it. Then they decided we have to digitalize and apply the robotic process automation. And that's where, the solution got created. They not only created the mobile app, but also they digitalized all the processes, and they created the smart features to match the workers, right? I will just pay some attention to quick numbers here. They were able to reduce the time by 68%, right? This is a big term on the third bullet, no overtime. No overtime. It was all system controlled, right? The biggest other bullet was a human error. They have seen so minimized. Before it was, they used to spend 50% of time correcting human errors. Most of it went away. And the 100% system time, since automated system was put in place. So they were 100% performing. So it was 24 hours, but the system was performing the work for them. Before, the human was performing, and there was a lot of errors and multiple shifts. Your system is performing for you, so you are avoiding multiple shifts. Moving on to another case study. This is the last one. Again, a bank. They were manually onboarding their customers. That's again going back to the onboarding application they adopted. Right, and again, the results, I will let you guys read this through, but the results, if you see, the opening rates previously was 30%. It got increased to 80%, right? They have seen much increase in the revenue and much greater customer service, because all communication was maintained to the application. And the data, the biggest thing is the data capture. The data capturing was done and maintained in the back end through the automation. So one big thing I will before I end, I want to tell you, right? There's one layer that a user sees, but there are a lot of back-end technologies and operations that goes behind a layer of visualization. And that's where changes comes in play. They try to solve all the back-end operations, all the data flow, and makes users' life easy to see what they want to see. The quick recap of what we provide as Chainsys. That's me. That's my email ID. Feel free to get in touch with me with any questions. If you have any requests for the proof of concept, please connect me, and I would love to answer you back based on the experience I had and based on the knowledge I have gained. Teresa, I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you, Amar. That was a very informative session on data management automation. So we have few questions from the participants. So we'll go. The first question is, can you say more about how Chainsys intends to use AI and ML in their platform? What are some use cases that the markets are asking for?
So very good question. I will refer to one of the use case that our customer have requested is to project the capacity of the manufacturing unit, manufacturing plant. Right? They were having several automotives, several auto cars moving around, but they were struggling to size up and size down capacity. That's what they came to Chainsys and say, okay, since you already have a data management platform, you're already maintaining our data, can we apply some AI models? I would go back to machine learning models and predict the future of capacity based on the historical data they have, and some assumptions that their experts had. Also, the data was not only coming from their organization, also the vendor data. They had the vendor data that needs to be also entitled to, and the number of customers and the customers' data, because number of cars sold by customers in different regions. Let's assume in the last 24 months, right? All the data, again, this is an ecosystem. So this project was not only applying this smart model for predicting their future capacity. It was also about how you connect the ecosystem of vendors, customers, partners, and themselves, internal operations data, and help them to predict the future. So and the interesting fact was, while we were trying to get this model, right, our model not only came out more accurate to their, current trends, but also it became more diagnostic, because a lot of data that we found since we were developing smart technology, and that's why I said the data quality plays a big role. It was incorrect. There was a lot of duplication. Hence, their capacity, when they used to do manual forecasting, their forecasting always used to be doubled, tripled, and they were over capacity than they needed, right? And that's where the systems, the data management automation, or the platforms like Chainsys comes in play, because it's not only about applying AI and ML models, it's about connecting the ecosystem, looking at all the data points. It could be million endpoints, and then making a decision. Human can ignore one data point, and you will have a wrong results. Next question, Teresa. Did I answer?
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that answered the question. So the next question is, does Chainsys use blockchain technology anywhere? If yes, could you cite an example?
So we are not using currently. We are developing. We are developing for a prospective government customer, and the use case there is digital handshake. Digital and specific, that is for handshake in the real estate, the government real estates. So yes, we are not only developing a blockchain technology to produce a solution to the customer, but also we are working to put our platform on blockchain for the customers that are needed, because there would be customers in the future, and we do foresee that the customers need blockchain to empower our tools, because then the data moves through a tool. They want to ensure that it is immutable and the single source of truth is maintained. So yes, we have started looking into that. We are working on a solution not only for a customer, but also identifying which functions or subsections of our tools need to be on blockchain, because it's where we don't need to put blockchain everywhere we need. It needs to be only at the places where there are handshakes and where data has to be signed off, right? And since it's one platform, we usually don't see the handshakes, but we know where the handshake happens in the processes, and that's where we may be applying the blockchain. And to be honest, it's a very subjective answer here, because there are other technologies from Amazon and other services that we can apply. We also can make our own private blockchain, but there are a lot of technologies available today that allows you to not have, to allow you to have immutable files, not let anybody delete it. So it's very subjective where to apply blockchain, where not to, but we do have a capability and we're working towards it.
We also have one more question from the same participant.
Mhm.
Also, does Changes help over and above the native automations provided by COTS applications such as Oracle, Cloud ERP, SAP, S/4HANA, and so on?
Can you what applications are? It was too quick for me. Mhm.
Okay, Oracle, Cloud ERP.
No, I
SAP,
get that. What was
S/4HANA.
the first part of the question?
Okay, so does Changes help over and above the native automations provided
What
by
automations?
The native automations?
The native automations. Okay. Yes, we do. So we are not only automating integration with the systems and applications. As I said, we do integrate clouds. We do have endpoints that we have built for technologies, Databricks and Snowflake, and we will constantly producing these endpoints based on the customer needs, because a lot of customers want to just integrate two systems. A lot of customers wants to integrate multiple systems into data warehouse. A lot of companies want systems to connect and go into the lake house. So it depends, right? So yes, we are to automation tool goes beyond the native technologies.
I hope that answers your question. So the next question is, if data lake is spread over multiple clouds like AWS, OCI, and Azure, how can Changes platform spread its tentacles to all these clouds to offer consolidated analytics and data catalog?
Good point, right? So let's assume, so the question is not lake only, it's also about cloud, right? It depends, it's a cloud, it's a storage or lake, right? So again, connecting each through Changes, having a lineage through a Changes platform, and ensuring when the two clouds are talking, and I'm just restricting to cloud, or let's say the two lakehouse or delta lakes or data lakes are talking, if we have our tool in between and ensuring the data moves through us, and then having the catalog feature, a layer above all these tools, means having, since Changes is connected to all these clouds, so there's a layer, right, that will show you a complete broader metadata, is where we would be able to. But the biggest prerequisite will be to connect Changes tool to all these clouds or all these lake houses, and then that's the only way we will be able to not only show lineages, show the metadata, be able to govern the data and show the data transformations and taking place wherever the applicable, and also maintaining single source of truth. Once we get this metadata layer, going to the analytical layer would be easier. We have our own analytic tool that we can apply to oversee all these clouds. And that's where our tools like Changes is meant, right? We are here for integration. We are not only here for ingestion, we're here for integration. So not, and it's about big data integration, big data ingestion, whatever you say, but it is all about that now, where there are companies coming to us, hey, we have some systems on Oracle, we have some systems on AWS, we have some data on Snowflake. How would you bring it together? How would you connect to each for totality? So the answer is yes, we have, but the prerequisite is to connect Changes tool to all these clouds.
Thanks, Samar. So the next question is, you have mentioned about the centralization and decentralization in data management. So what do you think is the future of data management?
Great question. So if I have to comment on this, based on my experience, based on what I know and what I'm learning, my prediction says that decentralization will continue to be empowered. It will be the norm, and the technologies that connects, as I said, decentralization that maintains the integrity of decentralization, that empowers the decentralization, that empowers the people part of decentralization will be the future and will be more adopted. So answering is decentralization will be the future.
Okay. So we have one more question. So the last question is, what is your recommendation when it comes to scalability?
My recommendation on scalability is, yes, I'm a big fan of cloud adoption. At the same time, I'm a big fan of adopting automation tools. So my recommendation to the companies for scalability would be to have a right mix of the cloud and the tools that they're needed, so that when they're scaling up, the tools should be capable and to scale up. At the same time, the cloud, the infrastructure at the bottom of the tool should be capable to scale up too. So going back to decentralization is all about scaling up, because you don't start everything at the same time. You start with small buckets. And when you're starting with small buckets and small opportunities, to make it a bigger opportunity and to make a bigger data vision, you scale up. And for you to scale up within the business, because you are going from one small factor to a bigger factor, you need to make sure when you're making a decision on a tool, at the very first decision, you are very confident that the tool you have selected is scalable. Don't go by subscription as a service. Don't go for the SaaS model. It's a very easy term, self-service, SaaS models. People get so involved. Oh, I only want to pay $100 today, so let's do subscription service. Make sure you are checking the technical rigidness of the system, because ultimately you can start from $100 subscription, but as you keep on adopting more systems, data sources, you keep on going broader, how big you will grow and whether the system is capable to grow with your need. That should be the initial assessment every company should be making. But unfortunately, people go with the short-term vision and not the long-term vision. My recommendation would be, if you're adopting a tool, make sure you're adopting a tool that is going to be with you for longer run, and that will going to stay with you for longer run.
Thank you, Amar.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for taking your time on this session. And
Awesome.
thank you all for your participation in this session. We'll take a break for lunch now. So the next session on data transformation will start at 2 p.m. CST. Hope to see you all there. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Thanks for attendance.